everyone, my name is Megan and I'm here today with my January wrap-up. January was a weird month for me because I read 19 books in manga. However, I failed to finish all the books on my TBR, and yet I felt like I could have read a lot more. I was just too busy. Then I think back to the number 19, and that's just a ridiculously big number, and I should be proud, but I feel like I could have done so much more. We will see how February goes, but for now, the 19 books in manga that I read in January are going to be these ones in chronological order. Number 1, Noragami Volume 4, which I gave 4 stars. Followed by Noragami Volume 5, which I gave 5 stars. Then I read Black Butler Volume 23 and 24 by Yana Toboso. Both of these I gave a 4-star rating to. Next I read Noragami's Volume 6 and 7, which I both gave a 5-star rating to. Then I read My Hero Academia Volume 2 by Kohei Horikoshi, which I gave 5-star to. I was just totally in the mood for manga, as you can tell, because I was just flying through the manga. Then I read Noragami Volume 8, which also got a 5-star rating. Then I tried out a new manga, Beast of Abigail by Spiga Aoki, which I gave a 4-star rating to, and I have a first impressions coming up on it. And then I read The Honor Student at Magic High by Yu Mori, which also is going to have a manga first impressions going up on it soon, and I gave that one a 4-star as well. Then we move on to the first book I read, which is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. For The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, I do have an independent review on it, which I will leave a link to down below. But I did not like this book because it was not a book I would have normally read. I just got myself swept up in the hype, and as a result, it took me longer to read than it should have, and it just kind of put me behind for the rest of the month. And so there's just a lot of... So I just didn't really care for the characters or the plot. It was just too romance-oriented for me, and I decided that it was best to return to manga after reading that. So I read the Naruto Omnibus Volume 6, which contains volumes 16 through 18 in the Naruto series, and I gave the omnibus about 4 out of 5, a 4.5 out of 5, and that was written by Masashi Kishimoto. Then I decided to finish up a book that I was reading, and that was Crystal Storm by Morgan Rhodes. I had started this back in December, and I just didn't finish it, and I was getting ready for Immortal Rain to come out, which is going to come out in February, so I was just getting myself ready for that, and I gave Crystal Storm a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I completed my first audiobook for the year, and that was Renegades by Marissa Meyer, and narrated by Rebecca Soler and Dan Bittner. And I ended up giving Renegades a 5 out of 5 star. It was so good, and I'm so sad I read it so close to its release date, because that means I have to wait even longer for the sequel, and it just makes me sad, because so far Renegades is my favorite book of the year. Then I read Noragami Volume 9, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 star, and followed that immediately up with My Hero Academia Volume 3, which also got a 4 out of 5 star. Which leads me to the only point in the month where I actually read 2 books back to back without breaking it up with a manga, and that was I finished Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, which I gave 4 out of 5 star. This text was so rich and deep. It was very small print, and half of the pages were footnoted with world building things that just made the world just kind of expand out, and it was a very intense story. And then so, I immediately followed that up with the light and fluffy novel that is Stranger the Dreamer. No, it is not in any way. This was written by Laini Taylor. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. When I originally read The Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, I loved the way it was written. I just didn't care for the characters or the story. That is not the case with Stranger the Dreamer. This was a completely mesmerizing book. I don't necessarily feel the same need for secrecy that everyone else seems to have. I don't feel like telling you anything about what you're walking into is going to ruin anything. So I will tell you that Stranger the Dreamer follows Laszlo Strange, who is an orphan who becomes a librarian, who is obsessed with a city called Weep that has been disappeared for 200 years. No one has seen it. And then one day, some citizens of Weep walk into the town where his library is and are like, hey, we have a problem. Come with us. And he does. and from there the story just unfolds. I don't feel like you lose anything by knowing that is what you're walking into, because it's just such a good story. And even though you can see things and you're wondering what's going on and you're trying to solve the mystery yourself, you're just so enraptured by this world. It is so good, and I cannot wait for the next book to come out. Which brings us to the 19th book of January, and that was Noragami Volume 10. And I just had it in January with a manga, since I read so many of them in January. And I gave Volume 10 a 4 out of 5 star. And all in all, I would say January was a very good reading month. I enjoyed most of what I read, although most of what I read was manga. But hey, I enjoy every reading month as much as I enjoyed January. 2018 is going to be a phenomenal reading year, and let's hope February goes just as well. So let me know some of the books that you read this January in the comments below, and thanks for watching. Until next time, talk to you later.